Hello, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, I am Disco Kitty, the Crappy Crafter. Today, we're going to be working on Jackie's Super Not Another Crap kit. I'm super excited about it. I've already done an unboxing. I wanted to do it as a short, but it ended up being like 2.5 minutes long, so find that in my previous videos from a couple weeks ago. And yeah. Let's just get right into it. Alright, here are the instructions. Make sure that you actually read them. I mostly read them, but I didn't watch the videos that she had made right away, so this is good. It came out. It was number 5. I failed on 4 of them. 2 legs broken, 1 leg broken, 2 legs broken, 1 leg broken. 1, 2, 3, 4. That was the order I did them in, and they just... I sucked. I didn't watch the video. I should have. It says to do the front legs first. I didn't. This video is going to be one of the longest videos I've made. It's over half an hour, and I have chapter breaks listed in the description. It's at the bottom of the description, so if you don't want to watch the whole thing, you only want to watch certain parts, you could go down there and click on any of those timestamps. You have to jiggle and wiggle the mold together. One thing I didn't see anybody else use. I didn't see anybody else use the rubber bands that actually came holding the mold together originally. And I'm not sure why. I know that there can be an over-constraint problem, and over-constraining something can be a real big problem. Both of my parents were engineers, so I understand this, but I myself am not an engineer, so I don't know how to mitigate that, so I'm pretty sure I over-constrained a lot of it. That little butt flap gave me the most problems because I feel like it's not quite right. It doesn't sit right. Eventually, I'll figure out how to rubber band it shut so it stops doing what it's doing and making a gap. Like here, I'm really over constraining it. That little butt flap just wants to stick right out and it just doesn't want to work. But I will figure it out. Not with the first mold, and I will only show you this rubber banding of the first one. I'm not going to show you the rubber banding of all of them, although I will on the next one, or the third one, I don't remember. I will show you how I end up keeping the butt flap in place. Make sure everything is together and tight. Some of the rubber bands I'm doubling up to make sure they're extra tight, which also is an over-constraint issue. If you try to put things together too tightly, it can actually make them bubble and warp and not meet, precisely. But we do what we can. The mold is good for what it is. So, 200 milliliters of plaster, 3 ounces of water. I love this measuring cup. It is so handy. I have 2 of them now. Woo-woo! So, of course, for the first 3, I will use the Activa, and then for the last 2, I will have run out of the Activa, and I will have to use my own. Something that I had picked up from Amazon. Perfect Cast. And remember, do not tamp it down. Let it stay fluffy like flour. It's hard not to tamp it down, but, it can be done. Here we're going to have some beautiful bubbles. Allow me to show you that. Yes, that was very, very nice. Now we will shloop and sploosh. We will scrape, make sure that all the bits and the stuff that gets smushed to the bottom is scraped up and mixed in very, very well. You have to mix it really well. You'll be able to see here in the middle of my bowl, right there, I didn't mix it all, but it's okay because I don't really need it all. Trying to get out the bubbles on the back, and here we go. The butt is leaking. I couldn't make the butt not leak with this round, but it's okay because it will get better. Top it up, overfill it, because that's what I do. That's alright. Pound on the table, cause an avalanche, because I literally, my table is just piled with stuff. The mat barely fit in my workspace. All that butt leakage. That sounds awful, but it has a butt leak problem. And unfortunately, it will continue to leak a little bit, and the head will be disformed because of that. Malformed, disfigured, there we go. Making the base, which I will come back in like 10 minutes, and I will see a layer of water on top, and I'll try to dry that layer of water off. And in doing so, I touch it with a paper towel in a couple places, and that's what makes those little spots. Don't do that. Just let it dry on its own. Big butt leak. Taking off all the rubber bands. Seriously, this is the only time that you'll have to watch this part. I did find that those 3 rubber bands, the ones that came holding the mold together originally, actually dyed the mold a little bit. There's a little yellowish mark where the rubber bands were. You want to be really, really careful when you take off the first 2 sides, and take off only the first 2 sides 1 hour after pouring the mix in. All those bubbles. I just could not get rid of the bubbles, but that's okay because clay is going over the top of it. That will give it something to grab onto. Just not smart. I should have watched Jackie's videos first. Jackie, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be an idiot. You can see here I've already broken one of the back legs. I hadn't realized it yet though. But there it goes. There goes the second one. Because I didn't watch the video. So this is how I try to get the butt flap to stay where it's supposed to be. It kind of sort of works. What I do is I just add a rubber band and make sure it's really, really tight across the rump to hold it down. In future ones, the last 3, I will actually do 2 rubber bands across that spot. And here we go. It's not looking good. It's not going to go well. I mean, we already know that it's going to fail. Just how is it going to fail this time? And keep in mind, these are all ×2 speed. I'm working half this speed in real life. But I didn't want to have an hour-long video, so I always speed everything up to at least 2 times. I thought maybe if I had braced the legs, and I got so far, and then, Is it supposed to look like that? I feel like there's a chunk missing, honestly. Here we go. Already broken. I probably was too rough taking off the 2 outside pieces and just didn't even notice. At least this one was quick. Look how far I got with this one. So far. And remember, I'm working, this is ×2 speed, so I'm working at half the speed of this. And I had the idea. I did. If only I had done that first, but I really, really didn't think that that was gonna come off first. I really didn't think so. Tink! Ah. And here we go. I finally watched Jackie's video. I finally know what to do. And it's just do the front legs first. Do the front legs first. Don't put any kind of pressure on the legs at all. Hold it by the torso. And remember, slow and steady wins the race. Keep in mind, this is double speed. Ah, that's nice. That is nice. And I'm not going to use them anyways. Because at 3:30 in the morning, I decided I was going to do something else. I was so happy. I want to make a water dragon. So I'm going to cut off the stumps and make a big old tail. Yeah, the first mold I let sit for an hour, took off 2 pieces, let it sit for another hour, tried to take off the 3rd piece, and then I progressively let them sit longer and longer and longer, hoping that just more cure time would help, but it didn't. Hoping that different compound would help, but it didn't. Just, you have to do it right. So here I'm going to double up on the armature wire for the tail because it needs to be pretty strong, because it's going to be pretty long and it's going to have a kind of a lacy bit at the end, you know, the fin. Which I will start by making way too long and then cutting down. And I should have cut down the head frill that I'm going to make because it is so big. But we'll get to that when we get to that. It's a long video. We have a lot to get through. Now the reason why I was swiping on that wire is because I used to be a wire crafter. I used to do wire wrapping, and when you swipe on it like that, it warms it up and makes it harder. It makes it more durable, I guess. You can definitely tell it's doing something because when you do that, the wire warms up. And as the wire warms up, it gets harder and harder, and it can hold its shape better. Something I learned, like I said, while I used to do wire craft. I just can't do that anymore because my hands I just can't. It just hurts so much now. Remember to coat everything in a good layer of the oven cure adhesive. The clear bond. It is the cosplay version of Bacon Bond. And it is gooey. It's a gooey mess. I used my finger here and then not again ever for this project because it's just such a gooey mess. I don't know if it's ever going to clean out of the brush that I used though. That brush might just be my oven clay adhesive brush now. And this was surprising. I was expecting it to be wrapped, but it wasn't. It was just there in the box. And it needed a lot of conditioning. I spent at least a half an hour, maybe even 45 minutes. The next day, my arms were so sore from using the pasta press. Oh, so sore, but so worth it because there was no way that I was going to be able to condition this by hand. Just look at how crumbly it is. Look at how crumbly that is in the beginning. Although when it breaks off, it makes some really interesting cliff texture. I think. I think it would look like a neat rocky cliff. And here we are, like half an hour later. Still going though. And keeping in mind to coat everything with the oven bake adhesive. Pretty sure there probably would have been plenty of texture on the tin foil, aluminum foil to hold it, but you never want to be, you always want to be sure. Smoothing everything together. I'm going to add a couple more pieces. I'm going to add some like wrinkle marks where the tail bends at the butt, and then this will be the first bake. This is going to get baked a bunch of times. Adding in the fold lines. These tools are super soft. I really like them. Going to work on the head. Now I have baked the tail already. Interesting, you can't really tell because it doesn't really change color like some clays do when they get baked, which is interesting. Put a little clay in the horn holes. This is where the frill is going to come out from. The frill. Oh, I do such a horrible job with the frill. Makes me cringe, but that's okay. Because this I haven't sculpted on quite this big of a scale, like ever. I mean, yeah, I did the Disco Kitty with the first kit, but that wasn't as involved as this was. I don't think. This had a lot going on. May have bit off more than I could chew. I definitely didn't put as much effort into it as I thought I was going to, because it took a really long time as it was, and I just don't have the patience or the energy for long projects anymore. Add some lips. Blend the lips into the face. I couldn't decide if I wanted to have an open mouth or a closed mouth, and I decided closed mouth was better because it's easier, it's quicker, I didn't have to deal with teeth or anything like that, I'm lazy. I mean, I think overall my little water dragon thing came out pretty good, but if I had actually spent more time on it, which like I said is really hard for me, I think it would have been a lot better. Here I'm making some nostrils. And these nostrils will close up underwater. Blend those into the face so they're not just sitting on top. Here I'm going to make some indents for some eyeballs. I could have done a lot differently with this piece. So much differently. But I think it's okay. Here, I'm going to make some lids for the eyeballs. Which are going to be a little on the small side. So he's going to be kind of... His eyes are going to be sticking out and kind of bulbous. And that's okay. I have no idea what I'm doing. I bought this kit mainly to support a fellow YouTuber, and the fact that I was able to create something out of it is good. gonna make a scar so he's not, you know, just plain. And the scar will actually open up a little bit while he's baking, which is pretty cool. Wrap some clay around his legs, you know, the legs that he has. Give him some toes to put some claws in. Gotta have little toe beans with big, long, pointy claws. I really like this clay. It was a pleasure to work with. I enjoyed it immensely. You know, once it was conditioned, which took a lot of effort, but better to do it with the pasta roller than trying to do it by hand. That would have just been painful. Making claws. Gotta make sure everything is glued down. So just a little drop of glue in each one of the claw holes, and then the claws right on top. And then it'll go in for another bake. And we'll work on the tail. I've cut 2 sheets of tail-shaped clay. I'm going to make sure that the 2 sheets are well glued together and well glued to the wire. Have to figure out how to set it up so it doesn't keep falling over. Because like I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. And what I should have done with my last bake with the toes, I should have put a thin little piece of clay on the end of all 4 of those wires so that they would stop poking through my damn clay. They just kept poking through and ripping my uncured clay. It was so annoying. I thought about putting tin foil or aluminum foil on, you know, under the clay on the horns, but I didn't know if that would make it better or make it worse, so I didn't. I'll end up making the tail a lot thicker than I wanted to, but it ends up being alright. Certainly not a masterpiece, but it's alright. Here's where I decide that it's way too big. And don't worry, I don't cut the mat. I don't even cut into the mat as far as I can tell. So you can see it's ripping through. So I have to add more and more and more. Eventually, I will bake it just for the tail. And then I'll come back and do the head frill. Trying to make sure all the edges are as thin as I can get them so that it looks nice and flowery and flowy. Like a fancy goldfish tail. Yeah. I already put the glue on this one. And I put a couple extra pieces on the ends of the clay here, which... Again, I could have put those on when I baked the tail, but I didn't. Smooth everything together. Make sure those edges are nice and thin, not lumpy or clumpy. You can't see the layers. And here he is, all cured. All done being created. The headpiece is just so freaking big. Now we're going to use the Chalky Finish acrylic paint because the clay is an oil base, the paint is a water base. This is kind of a in-between chalky. It'll soak up the oils and keep the oils and the waters from getting into each other or something. Or it'll make the paint stick. 3 layers. You gotta do 3 layers. It is what is recommended by Jackie. I know there's a couple spots missing where he'll touch the tabletop, but that's okay. I really should have cut his frill down too. It is so big. But here is the cordless, handheld, beginner-friendly AirBrush. This is the reason why I got the whole kit. I have wanted an AirBrush for years, but I'm lazy, as I have said multiple times in this video, and I didn't want to do my own research. I'm happy to do research when it comes to doing stuff for other people. Especially if I were to make my own craft kit, I would be more than happy to research stuff. But to research stuff just for me, just because, I like reading reviews. I like taking other people's opinions. And this, it works. It's pretty cool. I really like it. And the fact that it comes with already diluted paints, very nice, although the gold was very, very thick. It was not diluted very well. I had to add water to it in order to make it do anything. I'm catching on quick, though. I had already forgotten at this point that there's a screw on the end, on the blue end there, that limits how much air is coming through. I didn't think about that. I just left it where it was and I go to town. And it's a splotchy, awful mess. But that's on me. I don't know if that's the brush. I'm pretty sure that's just me because I didn't limit the air. I was just going full bore. I was opening up the well as much as I could to get all of the paint out as fast as I could. And I probably shouldn't have done it that way because it gets all drippy and gross, but you know what? It also makes it look a little bit more organic, kind of. I do tap a couple of spots with the paper towel to really get rid of like the splotches, but I'm gonna go over the top of him with some yellow to give him kind of a green highlight. And then I will go over the bottom with some red. Oh, is that my hand? Look at my hand. Look at how fat my hand is. Look at how well it takes up the whole frame. I do such a good job at this second camera thing. Well, at least I turned it on this time. Unlike last time I tried to use a second camera, I just never even turned it on. Anyways, here we go with the red. The red is certainly seems to be much more opaque than the yellow, which, go figure. That's a thing. But they layer really, really well. I was surprised at how much the red actually stood out and didn't just make the blue kind of a purpley color, like the yellow made the blue a greenish color. I really like that, though. I'm gonna try to do more with that. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna try to do more. See, now here I've put some of the gold paint in, and it's not coming out. When I tested it the very, very first time, there was still some black ink in there, so it kind of mixed with the black ink, and I was able to get some of the gold to come out with my very, very, very first test run on that piece of paper, but the gold was very thick, so I had to water it down. I didn't water it down a lot, but I did water it down some. And I didn't want the gold to be very, very strong. I just wanted to give the dragon a bit of a shimmer. And I think that's what I did. I think it's okay. Gonna go in with some thick white paint to do the eyeballs. I'm going to use the black that came in the kit to do the pupils. And that's not really gonna work for me. So I'm going to end up going back with the thick black paint over the pupils later. But see, look at that. The gold paint comes out like a standard acrylic paint. It's pretty thick. If you watch later, when I put out a little bit of the black, it is much, much more liquidy. Like, it is almost a water consistency. And it actually has a hydrophobia thing against the palette. The palette you know, the paint sticks to the palette, but the watered down stuff does not. It beads up. Hydrophobic? Yeah, that's the word, I think. Just putting some little dots and details, really cheaping out on his highlights and stuff. I had such big plans for this. He was gonna have big old whiskers. He was gonna be a dog-faced Chinese water dragon, and I couldn't put the effort into it. I just didn't have it in me to do it. Sometimes I think I'm just getting too old for this crap. But it was still fun. But you can see there how the black is beating up a little bit more than the gold did. A lot more than the gold did. It's much more watered down than the gold was. And there he is. He? I don't know. It's a water dragon in all of its glory. Well, that was frustrating, but that's on me because I didn't watch the instructions, so I did the legs wrong 4 times. It's all good. I should have watched the instructions first. But what do you think of my little sea dragon thing? He's okay. I really like this clay. Super flexy. I like it. I like the paints. That gold was really, really thick. I had to water it down. But, I think he's cute. What do you all think? Let me know in the comments. What would you have done with the broken pieces, or the whole pieces, or you know, whatever? Because I still have all my pieces. All my broken pieces, and my one good one, the last one that I finally followed the instructions on. Yay. But here we have 2 legs missing, and here we have 1 leg missing, and here we have a different back leg missing, and then we have all these foots, all these feet. I don't know. We'll see. I think it came out alright, you know, I don't sculpt. I really want to do more sculpting, and I should, because this is amateur at best. But it's still cute. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for coming, and we'll see you next week. Stay safe.